Or is that better, Amanda? I think that is. Hi there, folks. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I say that I used to be a type 2 diabetic very, very intentionally. I used to be. I have reversed my type 2 diabetes. I'm in remission from my type 2 diabetes. I don't take medications anymore because of my doctor taking me off of them. She says that I don't have them anymore. So, however you want to word it, I just don't have type 2 diabetes anymore. And I love to get on these live streams and tell people exactly what it is that I'm doing to achieve that. So, if that is something that sounds interesting to you, then stick around for this live stream. I'm going to tell you everything that I do to achieve that. So more than that, if that's something that sounds like something that like a friend or a family or a loved one could benefit from, then share this live stream with them, and let's see if we can't get them healthy as well. So we got a number of people that are just now joining the live stream. So I want to go ahead and do a couple of rounds of introductions for those people that are just now joining. Welcome to my live stream. And my name is Jim. I used to be a type 2 diabetic, and I get on these live streams and I tell people what I do to achieve that. So I used to be a type 2 diabetic, and I say that very, very intentionally. I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I have reversed my type 2 diabetes. I'm in remission from my type 2 diabetes. I don't take medication for it anymore because my doctor decided to take me off of it. I had a 12.2% A1C. At one point, I now have a 5.1% A1C. So, however you want to word it, I just don't have it anymore. And I love to do these live streams and tell people exactly what it is that I do to achieve that. And we're seeing people all over the place get healthy. Let me grab something real quick. We are seeing people all over the place getting healthier and healthier along the way. So if that's something that sounds interesting, then stick around for this live stream. Awesome. I see Amanda is in here. This, by the way, is my beautiful bride, Amanda. If you should see Amanda respond to any comments throughout this live stream, just know that she's speaking on my behalf. She speaks for me. She knows me better than I do. So, and give her a follow along the way and watch her videos. She's doing some great videos. Okay, so let me just throw this out there. I'm going to reintroduce myself a few times for the people that are just now joining the live stream. Folks, welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. Good morning, Angelica. How are you today? Welcome. Guys, share this live stream out with people. Let's get it out there. Share this live stream. If this is something you think that friends or family could benefit from, then share this with them, and let's get them involved in the conversation. I definitely am feeling like the content is not being pushed out as much by TikTok, and so I'm not quite sure why they do these games, but push this out on their behalf. Let everybody in the contacts know that I'm live. Okay, guys, let me go ahead and introduce myself for those that are just now joining. Welcome to my live stream. We are live on 11 different platforms right now, which is really, really cool. What's up, Justin? How are you, buddy? We're live on 11 different platforms right now. And so I've got the ability to cross-platform comments, and that is super, super cool. So, folks, welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I absolutely love saying I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I used to be. I have reversed my type 2 diabetes. I am in remission from my type 2 diabetes. I don't take medication anymore for my type 2 diabetes because my endocrinologist said I didn't have to anymore. So, however you want to word it, I don't have type 2 diabetes anymore. And I love doing these live streams and telling people exactly what it is that I do to achieve that success. So if that is something that is interesting to you, or if that's something that you think a friend or a family member, somebody around you could benefit from, then share this live stream with them and let's get the word out and just help people. So I've got a number of friends and family that I've talked about this with that they are benefiting from this. And then I've got a whole slew of people that I've met on TikTok that are benefiting from this well. As a matter of fact, if you've been listening to me for a little while and you are benefiting from it, hi, Helena. I'm curious, Helena, did you get a notification that I was live today on TikTok? I'm curious if Helena got a notification. Okay, folks, one more round of introductions. Tracy did not, neither did Helena. That is so interesting, isn't it? That is so, Sheila did not. So it's apparent that TikTok is not putting out notifications to people. So if you believe in the content, if you think that this should be pushed out, then do me a favor and push it out on their behalf, will you? They're being funny like that, and I don't really understand it. Okay, let's see. Megan Harrison, carnivore. Great question. Am I carnivore? No, I am not carnivore. I am not carnivore, but I love it. I get it, and I'll explain the whole carnivore thing as we dive into this, trying to figure out what's going on with my TikTok not pushing out the content to people. Bear with me for just a moment. Okay, let's see here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's see. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to go here. I know it. I know it. I know it. Okay. Here we go. Hi there, folks. Welcome to my live stream. I'm just going to go through and do one more round of introductions. I'm going to do one more round of introductions for those people that are just now joining me, okay? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I think it's pretty much morning everywhere in at least the United States. If you're outside of the United States, then good afternoon. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I say that I used to be a type 2 diabetic very, very intentionally. I choose my words carefully because honestly, I think words mean things. So when I say that I used to be type 2 diabetic, I used to be. I have reversed it. Now, there's a Dr. Jason Fung. He's a nephrologist out of Toronto, Canada. And Dr. Jason Fung says that type 2 diabetes is a completely reversible disease. It is not chronic and it is not progressive. I am in remission. And by the way, let's think about that. We've all heard chronic and progressive, right? I heard Dr. Ben Bickman recently refer to it as a symptom, type 2 diabetes as a symptom. Good morning, Tanya. So with that being said, I'm in remission. If you prefer the word remission over reversal, I'm in remission. I found an article on nih.gov that suggests that type 2 diabetes remission can be achieved oftentimes through weight loss. You can put that into Google and Google search that exact phrase, and you'll find the article I'm talking about. More than anything, I was a 12.2% A1C. Good morning, Keith. How are you, brother? More than anything, I was a 12.2% A1C at one point. I am now a completely unmedicated 5.1. I've been unmedicated since last February. February 14th was the last time I took any medication for type 2. I received word from my doctor on February 17th that I could quit taking medication. So my doctor told me that I didn't need it anymore. I've been unmedicated now for about 14 months. I do wear a continuous glucose monitor. My blood sugars are beautiful. My doctor told me I didn't need medications anymore. So however you want to word it, I don't have it anymore. And I love doing these live streams and telling people exactly what it is that I do to achieve that success. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, then stick around for this live stream. I'm about ready to dive right into it. Stick around for this live stream, and I'm going to tell you every single thing that I do. Ask questions along the way. I'm going to throw a lot of information. I'm going to throw a lot of information out there. So ask questions. What's up, Gary? You're on two platforms. Gary is on Twitch and the TikTok. Okay, so with that in mind, and right quick, do me a favor, guys, just for a little bit of validation for people that are just now joining in here. If you are Tanya or Keith or somebody like that, or Gary that or Helena, somebody that has benefited from the information that I give, would you just put a quick little blurb up in the comment section? And I'm going to share that with people as I'm getting kind of ramped up here. So, what did I do to achieve that type 2 diabetes remission? Well, the very first thing that I did was focus on the root cause. Now, the root cause is something called insulin resistance. Thank you, Iceman. The root cause is something called insulin resistance. Now, Tanya here, I'm going to put these comments up. Took my A1C from 10 to 5.6 in 6 months, off diabetes and blood pressure meds. Cholesterol is good, lost 32 pounds. That's incredible. In addition to that, Tanya, oh, here she is. She just added this to it. Also, no longer need oxygen during the day after being on 24/7 for 17 years. That's just an amazing transition, okay? So, focusing on the root cause, which is insulin resistance. So, let's talk about what is insulin resistance right quick. And I'm going to keep this part pretty brief, but I think you'll begin to understand what everything is. Insulin resistance. When we are insulin resistant, that leads to things like type 2 diabetes. Now, what is it? Let's start with what is insulin. When you consume a carbohydrate, that's something like a slice of bread, your body converts that carbohydrate to glucose, and the glucose goes out to your bloodstream, and that's what your cells use for energy. Now, the cell is locked. The glucose can't just go in. And I like to use the analogy like Pac-Man running around getting those little dots, right? The dots are glucose, and Pac-Man is the cell just going around and just eating. No, that's not the way that it works. The cell is locked. In fact, it would just kind of bounce off the glucose, and that's not what we want. If that happened, the cells would become malnourished, right? Okay, they wouldn't get their energy, and what would happen at that point? That'd be just a mess if your cells didn't get their energy. Well, to unlock the cell, our body produces insulin. Now, one of the jobs of insulin is to act as a gatekeeper or a key. It kind of unlocks the cell for the glucose to go in. Now, if the cell stops responding to the insulin, right, that is insulin resistance. And what happens next? Well, the cell doesn't get its glucose. That's a problem. That's the very kind of problem I was just throwing out there. Hi, Zola. How are you? If the cell doesn't respond to the insulin, then that's the problem, right? And so what happens then? Well, what tells the pancreas to produce insulin? What tells the pancreas to secrete insulin is glucose, blood sugar. Well, there's excessive amounts of blood sugar now, and so the pancreas starts secreting more and more and more insulin. And eventually it secretes enough insulin that the cell is unlocked and the glucose goes where it's supposed to go. Now, what's happening is that over time, it's taking more and more and more insulin to accomplish this job. And at some point, the pancreas can't produce enough insulin to get the job done. And so while we are hyperglycemic, which is another term for elevated blood sugar or elevated glucose, right? Whatever you want to call that, hyperglycemic, we are also hyperinsulinemic, elevated insulin. And that hyperinsulinemia, folks, is what's causing the cells to become resistant. They are swimming in insulin. Now, if you'd like a little bit of proof, obviously I'm throwing these little images up here, but I do like to go to, as I'm going through this, these various little bits of information, I like to throw this out where I get information from. Now, this is just one site. It's the Centers for Disease Control, and it's talking about insulin resistance and diabetes. And if you just read this, it will effectively tell you the exact same thing that I just did, okay? That's when everything works perfectly, but this finely tuned system can quickly get out of whack as follows. A lot of blood sugar enters the bloodstream. The pancreas pumps out more insulin to get blood sugar into the cells. Over time, cells stop responding to all that insulin. They've become insulin resistant. the pancreas keeps making more insulin to try and make cells respond. Eventually, the pancreas can't keep up and blood sugar keeps on rising. So, effectively, that's from the Centers for Disease Control. That's basically exactly what I just said. So, what did I just do? I just pushed the wrong button. Let's see. Dang it. Let me get this back. That wrong button. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so and Tracy, husband's down 22 pounds, also sleeping better, more energy, no brain fog. His A1C is decreasing. Hi, spicy lady, how are you? Okay, so we've understood what is insulin, what its role is. What is insulin resistance? Well, that's when the cell stops responding to the insulin. And then what causes insulin resistance? Well, hyperinsulinemia. And effectively, you can't have insulin resistance without having hyperinsulinemia. Now, there are some other things that will cause that, like stress. Stress load will definitely play a role in increasing insulin resistance. Lack of sleep will, but the biggest cause for insulin resistance is hyperinsulinemia, elevated insulin. So if we want to start reversing the insulin resistance, if we want to aim to reverse that type 2 diabetes, let's start by lowering the insulin. And how do we do that? What drives the insulin is glucose. What drives the glucose? You got it. It's what we're putting in our mouth. So if you want to adjust the insulin level in your body, naturally adjust what you're putting into your mouth. And if you do that, what we'll do is we'll start to see those insulin levels drop along with the glucose, and the two will come down together. You will begin to resensitize your blood cells to the insulin. And if we do that enough, we can reverse enough insulin resistance. And if we can reverse enough insulin resistance, we might just see some symptoms. And let's start thinking about it like that. Let's start thinking about it exactly like that. It's a symptom rather than a disease, right? We've heard chronic and progressive disease. Let's talk about it like it's a symptom. Now, how many medications are you throwing at a runny nose? Because that's a symptom of a cold, right? What do? You address the cold and the runny nose goes away. So let's talk about the symptom being type 2 diabetes and the root cause being insulin resistance, which is highly, highly, highly reversible. That's the good news. Okay. So this image above me, let me tell you where I got this image from. This image came from Dr. Ben Bikman, this guy right here. This is Ben Bikman's profile on, let me shrink this down a little bit. This is Ben Bikman's profile on BYU's website, Brigham Young University, byu.edu. Dr. Ben Bikman, he is a professor of cell biology and physiology. This guy understands things at the cellular level. That's what he does for a living. You look at his research interests, and this is pretty interesting, right? Let's just go right here. The focus of my lab, the Laboratory for Obesity and Metabolism. Who is curious about that? How many people are listening to me right now are interested in obesity and metabolism? I would imagine that's why you're listening right now. So the focus of Ben Bikman's lab, the Laboratory for Obesity and Metabolism, is twofold. First, we aim to identify the molecular mechanisms that explain the increased risk of disease that accompanies weight gain, with particular emphasis on the etiology of insulin resistance and disrupted mitochondrial function. That's what he does. He studies insulin resistance and cells. He also studies white and brown fat and the contrasting effects of insulin and ketones. This is kind of what he specializes in. You'll see he carries multiple doctorates, and just looking at the number of courses that the man has taught. The guy is brilliant. He is one of the world's leading metabolic scientists. That's what he does. If you go down further, and it's going to take a while to get past all the classes that he's taught, you'll find the different publications that he's been in. So metabolic disease, glucose intolerance. I always like to point out some of these, right? The effects of mitochondrial efficiency, um, insulin receptor inspired soluble insulin binder. Insulin. You'll find a common theme that revolves around insulin. Now, if you go to Google and say Dr. Ben Bickman and insulin resistance, you'll get about 190,000 results. The guy is a powerhouse in this world. Now, he has a website called insuliniq.com. If you are not currently a member of insuliniq.com, you should be. This will change your life. He also has a channel on TikTok called Insulin IQ, and he does weekly podcasts called The Metabolic Classroom. Absolute game changers. If you're a better listener than a reader, that is a wonderful place. Now, if you're a better reader than a listener, then he's got a book called Why We Get Sick. This book right here. This will absolutely change your life. Why We Get Sick. It's also available on audio file. If you are curious about, if you'd rather listen, you can get it on audio file, paperback, hardback, it doesn't matter. Get the book. I have pre-ordered How Not to Get Sick, the cookbook. I don't have it yet. It should be here in July, I believe. But excellent books. Now, if you scroll a little bit further down on this page, you'll come across that very image that I opened my live stream with. Remember this thing? That's where I got it from. Now, what I want to do is understand that those are symptoms of a bigger problem, right? The insulin resistance is the root cause, and all of those other things are symptoms of that root cause. So with that in mind, is it clear, Amanda? Is it still fuzzy on TikTok, guys? Oh, yeah. Yes. Brat Kristen says, can you show the two books again? There's only one. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yes, I can. Here we go. You want to see the two books right here. Why We Get Sick and How Not to Get Sick. I need to share the page. Jim, come on. Let's see. Let's share that tab right there. Okay, why we get sick and how not to get sick. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to put an emphasis on this image right here. Okay? Coming back full circle to this right here. You are welcome, Brat Kristen. I love the name, by the way. I want to put an emphasis on this image right here. And what this is doing is depicting all of those conditions that you may or may not have had as symptoms of insulin resistance. And is that a mind twist, right? You've always thought of them as chronic and progressive or whatever you've thought of them as. But what if you start thinking of them as symptoms? And I actually heard Dr. Bickman say that just the other day. It was kind of crazy to hear him say that. They are symptoms, right? And so what if we start addressing the root cause? Kill the root, kill the tree, right? That's the goal. If you kill the root, kill the tree. So what I want to do is, in an effort to first off engage the audience and ask for some engagement from you guys, and then second off to start to illustrate that, guys, this conversation is not about type 2 diabetes at all. This conversation is about its root cause, insulin resistance. And if we reverse the root cause, well, guess what you're going to do to the symptom? So as I go through these, if I name something off that applies to you or somebody that you know, do me a favor and type the word me. And what I would guess, if we're participating in this, which I hope you do, what I would guess is that you're going to start to see a lot of people typing the word me, right? And long before we get to type 2 diabetes. So if I name this off and it applies to you or somebody that you know, type the word me, okay? Let's start at the top, stroke. Does the word stroke, does that apply to you or somebody that you know? How about heart disease or obesity? Is there anybody listening to me that struggles with obesity? And in fact, let's go back to heart disease. Number one cause for death in the United States for how long now? Quite a while, right? Let's see. Barbara right away, me. Brat Kristen, me. Okay, obesity. Anybody there? Sally from Facebook. Thank you for the participation, Sally. Me. How about migraine headaches? Migraine headaches are a very early indicator of insulin resistance. What happens with vasoconstriction, right? Barbara, me. Ron, me. How about dementia? Now, I say if it applies to you or somebody that you know, this is one of the cases it will probably be better suited with somebody that you know. I doubt if anybody who has dementia is currently listening to me. Me for all but like 4, right, Brett? There you go. How about osteoarthritis? Anybody listening to me that suffers with osteoarthritis or childhood obesity, polycystic ovarian syndrome? What is up, my brother Brad? How are you, buddy? How about fatty liver? Now, liver disease is a top 10 cause of death in the United States. At the top of that list is non-alcoholic fatty liver caused by insulin resistance. How about arthritis? Anybody listening to me that suffers with arthritis or Alzheimer's disease, oftentimes referred to as type 3 diabetes, insulin resistance of the brain. Barbara, me, right? Misty, how are you? How are you? Okay, Ron says, yep, on the arthritis. Okay, guys, I don't know how many guys are going to answer this, but how about erectile dysfunction? Sally says, yes, arthritis. How about erectile dysfunction? Or sarcopenia? How about high blood pressure? Boy, that seems like everybody. Interesting topic. Thanks. You're welcome, Czar dude. High blood pressure. Seems like everybody has high blood pressure, right? Several for me and the hubs. Barbara says me. Now, just an interesting question here. How many of you are taking lisinopril? Type I am if you are currently taking lisinopril. The reason I say lisinopril was derived from snake venom. And if we were to understand just by this image that was developed by Dr. Ben Bickman, that lisinopril, that high blood pressure, a lot of people saying they're on lisinopril, right? I am, Angelica, I am. Okay, if we understand that high blood pressure is caused by insulin resistance, then we could say that, hey, you've got a sick body and one of the symptoms is high blood pressure, right? So if high blood, if the symptom is an indicator of a sick body, and the prescription was derived from poison, then is our logic as society to take an unhealthy body, a sick body, and then poison it to good health? Let's just think about that. Wrap our minds around that. Are we trying to poison sick bodies to good health? Now, the last image on here is type 2 diabetes. How many people are listening to me that are type 2 diabetic? Okay. And this is what I started off the conversation with, was reversing my type 2 diabetes. Those who know me, I hear it now quite a bit. I'm losing a lot of weight, right? Debbie says me, right? How many people are listening to me that are type 2 diabetic? Now, I spoke earlier about hyperinsulinemia causing the type 2 diabetes, right? It causes the insulin resistance. Elevated insulin causes type 2 causes the insulin resistance. How many people then are type 2 diabetics and what the medical system would dub insulin dependent? If you are a type 2 diabetic and you are insulin dependent, you are currently injecting yourself with insulin, would you type I am? And then better yet, maybe put a question mark if you are questioning how this works. Like, wait a minute, I thought I was taking that to get better, right? Because now you're injecting yourself with the very poison that's making you sick. So with that in mind, I want to throw out a couple other examples. Okay. Fibromyalgia. Is anybody listening to me suffering from fibromyalgia or gout or multiple sclerosis, pre-diabetic, right? That makes perfect sense. I can't believe I didn't name that myself. Pre-diabetic. How about diabetic neuropathy? That is pain, tingling, or numbness in the feet, legs, or extremities. How about diabetic retinopathy? That is blindness caused by diabetes, a top 3 cause of blindness in the United States. Do you know anybody, or maybe you have, had an amputation? Number one cause for amputation in the United States is diabetes. Guys, this is a huge problem. Coach still rocking the O's hat. Love it. What's up, buddy? This is amazing what you are doing here. Nate, brother, how are you, buddy? I coached Nate in baseball. Boy, Nate, what was it, about 30 years ago? It feels actually, it was about 30 years ago, wasn't it? And when I did that, our team was the Orioles. So that's pretty cool. And I'm glad you're liking this, brother. Glad you're liking this. Okay, my dad is type 2 with neuropathy. Tanya, keep on listening here, okay? So all of those things are caused by the same root cause, which is insulin resistance, okay? This conversation is about insulin resistance. It's not about type 2 diabetes. It's not about obesity. It's not about neuropathy. It's not about, I have neuropathy and retinopathy, Debbie. Okay, we're not talking about neuropathy or retinopathy. We're talking about the root cause, which is insulin resistance. Let me just tell you, if you start to reverse that root cause, guess what's going to get better is all of those other things. Okay, so eye on the target. Real quick question. I'm going to put that image back up here real quick. Just a curiosity question, right? Curiosity question. How many of you are taking a medication for one or more of these symptoms and not doing anything about the root cause? There's a powerful question, right? How many of you, and in fact, do me a favor and add up the medications that you're taking and put those in the comment section here. I'm curious, add up the number of medications you're taking for one of these symptoms, but not doing anything about the root cause, and just put that number. Okay. Pain, stress, depression, ADHD, and anxiety has been the least of my problems. There you go. Okay. 4. I like to fish says 4. Anybody else want to chime in on this? I think this is powerful. Debbie says 3 meds. These are medications we're taking for a symptom, but not doing anything about the root cause. Barbara says 4. Right? These are powerful statements, because we're not doing it. And what's going to happen? Tad says 3. What's going to happen, right? You start taking a medication. Sally says 5. Hi, Sally on YouTube. We are streaming on YouTube, by the way, as well. So what's happening here? You are taking a medication for a symptom. Let's pick on migraine headaches, right? When I first started getting headaches, I would take a 200 milligram thing of ibuprofen, and it would make the headache go away. And then over time, I needed 400 milligrams because 200 milligrams didn't cut anymore. The headaches were getting worse. And then over time, 600, and then I maxed out at the 800, right? That's as many as we can take, right? Or maybe I would rotate between 2 different medications because I thought that was the good combination. What if we were to say this, and at the root of that problem is insulin resistance? I've never actually addressed the root cause. And so what is happening is the symptom is getting worse because the root is getting bigger. Now, how can we apply that elsewhere? How many of you, just type the word relatable, would say you started off with 500 milligrams of metformin for your type 2 diabetes? And then, a year later, they're like, 500 milligrams didn't quite cut it. Let's go to 1,000. And I want you to change your diet. Start eating healthy. It's a piece of cake. And Helena says, my migraines are gone. And you go from that to a couple of years later. Now you're at a full dose of metformin, 2,000 milligrams. And then maybe a couple of years after that, now you need some high blood pressure medication. But it's a small dose, not a big deal. And then, you got some high cholesterol. Let's start a low dose there. And then before you know it, we're not able to keep up with the diabetes. So now let's talk about Jardiance or Farxiga or something like that. We add a little bit more medication to the symptom. And then, you know what? Hey, that medication causes another problem over here. It does cause high blood pressure. So let's talk about an increase in your high blood pressure. Well, did you know that causes this? And next thing you know, you're on like 20 different medications, right? You started off with something very small 40 years ago. 200 milligrams of ibuprofen. But because you never dealt with the root cause, the root just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now all of a sudden there's all of these other new symptoms kind of sprouting up. And those symptoms are getting progressively worse. And now you feel like you're spinning out of control, right? How many people just feel like you are spinning out of control? You can't get control of this. And now it's just, man, every time I go to the doctor, they're going to give me something else to put in my mouth, right? Is that relatable to anybody? And if so, this is what we're talking about, okay? Let's talk about, Debbie says me, Victoria says me. Guys, this is a very engaging live stream. Please engage with me. If you think that this is useful information, if you think that this is helpful information, you feel like you can now. Judy feels like she's got hope now. I love that. Tanya says, yes, this is relatable. Okay, guys, if you think that this is valuable information, if you think that this is stuff that should be shared, then do me a favor and share this out there. Let's get other people healthy. Now, let me dive right into this. What did I do to reverse my insulin resistance? Okay, and this sounds so weird for me to say, but a lot of people will take notes along the way. A lot of people will take notes. So it might be wise to grab a pen and paper or take some screenshots along the way. So what did I do to reverse my insulin resistance, right? First things first, focus on the root cause. I don't care about the type 2 diabetes. I don't care about the migraine headaches. All I care about is that insulin resistance, okay? So need to fix the issue, not put a Band-Aid on the meds. Right, Tanya? Okay. Judy says, I tried to tell my brother about it last night and he wouldn't listen. He's a bad diabetic. Okay, so this is a perfect opportunity. I want to illustrate something real quick. Judy says, I tried to tell my brother about it last night and he wouldn't listen. He's a bad diabetic. Guys, that's what this is. This is an opportunity for you to say, say, hey, listen to this guy, this random dude on TikTok or Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're listening to me from or wherever they're listening to me from. Let's get them, just say, hey, this guy's live right now. Start listening to this, okay? Okay. All right. You take 2 different types of insulin. Victoria, keep listening, okay? Okay. On the system now, and everything is getting much better. Down 21 pounds. Feel better already. Love that. Congratulations, Barbara. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a 3-step protocol that I adhere to every single day. Those 3 steps are very, very important to me. In fact, they're non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. I don't care. I don't have a problem with berberine or apple cider vinegar or cinnamon or any of those, turmeric. Cayenne. I don't have a problem with any of those. Okay, they're all natural. Use them. They are helpful. Okay, I don't trust big pharma, so I don't really go there. Okay, folks. Let's dive right into this. The 3 steps that I adhere to all day, every single day. Step 1 of the protocol is intermittent fasting, a 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule. So out of a 24-hour day, I don't eat for 16 hours out of the day. And by the way, Tanya came across my live stream about a year ago. About a year ago, actually. And kind of took notes and started getting very healthy. Tanya has reversed type 2 diabetes. She has reversed her hypercholesterolemia. She's no longer needing cholesterol medication, statins. She doesn't need her blood pressure medication anymore. She was on 24-hour-a-day oxygen therapy. She needs oxygen at night only now. She was very limited on her ability to exercise. She's now able to walk 10,000 steps in a day. So Tanya has taken great interest in these tips that I'm going to talk about, these 3 steps. She's listened to about 1,000 of my live streams. In fact, if you're not giving her a follow, you should be, because now she's telling the same thing on TikTok all the time. Now, with that being said, Tanya knows my rhythm very, very well, and she will be putting these comments up in the comment section and pinning them there. I'm pinning them for all of the Facebook users and YouTube users to be able to see as well. The reason Tanya does that is for you guys to either be able to write them down or take a screenshot, whatever is the most convenient for you, okay? So with that in mind, thank you, Tanya. I love you to death, and you know that. Okay, step 1 of the protocol is intermittent fasting. a time-based eating schedule. So out of a 24-hour day, I don't eat for 16. I do eat 2 meals in the remaining 3 hours. Boy, that is up close and personal, isn't it? That is very up close and personal. I'll back that image off a little bit. Is that a little better? Jeez. Now, what's the logic here? Let's talk about what we're trying to accomplish with this step. So, by the way, for me personally, at 8 p.m., I'm done eating for the day. I don't eat again until noon the following day. Now, between noon and 8, I allow myself 2 meals. Now, if hyperinsulinemia, remember, always focusing on what is causing the insulin resistance, and it is hyperinsulinemia. If hyperinsulinemia is the problem, we need to bring that down. What causes that? Glucose. Well, we need to bring that down. What's the easiest way to bring it down? Is to stop eating. I'm not suggesting that anybody just stops eating forever and ever and ever, but let's talk about maybe skipping a meal. That's what I'm talking about. Time-based eating, skipping breakfast. Now, what happens? At 8 p.m., I'm done eating for the day. I'm up for another 3 hours, and then I end up going to sleep, and I sleep through the majority of my fast. I wake up in the morning, and I skip breakfast. What am I doing? I am suppressing, and I know a lot of people are saying, but my glucose is high in the morning. Let's talk about that. I'm suppressing my glucose levels, and then in turn, keeping my insulin levels suppressed for a little bit longer. I'm not talking about taking 19 days of not eating. I'm talking about skipping breakfast. That is the level of commitment that I'm talking about, okay? Now, at noon, I can break my fast. If you say, hey, I have to have breakfast, well, what is breakfast? It is breaking your fast. Have it at noon. You want bacon and eggs? Have them at noon. At noon, I break my fast. And between the hours of noon and 8, I allow myself 2 meals. Again, I'm trying to get my insulin levels to come down between those 2 meals. I don't want them to be hyperinsulinemic. I don't want to be elevated. So to that point, no snacking between those 2 meals. What you will never hear me talk about is counting calories or portion sizing or anything like that. I eat until I'm full. I eat a big enough and nutritious enough meal that's going to get me through until the next meal. Cows in cotton clothing. Michelle, if you're not tapping, you're napping. Tap, tap, tap. What she's suggesting here is tap the screen and put those likes up there. If you tap the screen and put those likes up there, that tells the algorithm to share this thing more often on the For You page. Thank you, Michelle. If you do think this is valuable, then tap the screen. That's all. Thank you. And my record, I think, what is our record, Tanya? I think it was 100 and some thousand likes on TikTok during a single live stream. And right now we're at about 3,300. And we've got, 60-something people listening right now. If everybody put 1,000 likes up, that wouldn't take very long to get to 60, 70,000, right? So just as you're listening to me, tap away. Good morning, Suzanne. How are you? Tapping is clapping. That's a great way to put it. Okay. The same thing on Facebook and all the other platforms as well, guys. Okay. So I want to let you know that what we discussed using half works for me. Awesome, Suzanne. I love that. Everything is pretty much good. I love that, Suzanne. Love, love, love it. Okay. How many of us wake up in the morning and if hyperinsulinemia is the problem, right? And what causes that is a glucose spike. How many of us wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee? A cup of coffee. In fact, maybe we have one of those ridiculous cups of coffee, right? One of the ones that like I used to love the caramel frappuccino. Remember that thing? I want to do this real quick. Let's share. I want to share this page here. Check this out. Maybe you wake up and have one of these. Oh, it's not going to play it. Dang it. Let's see. TikTok. I am trying to.
Husband killed himself and he left me to
see. I'm going here. I'm going to scroll down. This is my TikTok, folks, by the way. if you scroll down, I've got this little video of Bobby. You may have heard of Bobby.
This is the new Peppermint Mocha Swirl here at Dunkin' Donuts. It has a record-breaking 186 grams of added sugar, but grams are kind of hard to visualize sometimes. So visualize this, my friends. It's the same amount of sugar as not that many munchkins, that many. 93 munchkins that are powdered sugar. Need another frame of reference? It has that much sugar. That is 46.5 teaspoons of white cane sugar in a freaking coffee. Now, read the comments sometimes. Some people say, Bobby, are they trying to kill us? No, if they kill us, we can't be consumers of their products. They're trying to make us hooked on their food, so we're fat, sick, and nearly dead. That way we keep buying their crappy food, and we keep buying their prescription medication. My friends, this is insane. This is a prime example of profits over people.
How is that? How many people would wake up and have one of those drinks? And what are we doing right off the gate, right? What are we doing right out the gate? If spiking our glucose causes an insulin response, what is that thing doing to you? I mean, boom, you're there right away. And a good friend of mine, Ro, says that she used to go through the Starbucks and grab a drink like that, right? And then right next door is the Einstein bagel. So she would go through the Einstein and get her bagel with a veggie schmear, right? And 55 carbohydrates in that. Now, just for reference, and this should just kind of, this should blow your mind a little bit, okay? Your body needs 1 teaspoon of sugar to operate. Your entire bloodstream needs 1 teaspoon of sugar. Think about that. That entire coffee had 46.5. Why are we sick? Why are we sick? You need 1 of those. So how many people, whether you wake up and you have that cup of coffee, that ridiculous thing or not, how many of you wake up and have coffee with a sweetener? And by the way, a lot of people were saying, wow, right? I want to highlight some of these. Wow, Sally from YouTube, coffee does help me exist, right? And I don't have a problem with coffee. I love coffee, but it's that sugar, that added sugar that we're adding. Tanya, holy cow. Randy, 186. Oh my, right? Celeste, oh my word. Tracy, I'm back. Oh, I'm back. Victoria, that's a lot. Okay, I mean, we get this point, right? So equal. Let's talk about equal here in a little bit. Let's talk about highly processed foods. And I think equal falls in that. We're going to talk about that here in step 3. So what we're doing is we spike our glucose right away. You can have black coffee. Oh, and I see Ro, I was just talking about you, Ro. Ro had an A1C that was over 14. She's now 5.9%. I just saw you come in, Ro. I hope I didn't miss a high. Ro, I was just telling a story about you that you said you would go through like the Starbucks and grab your coffee and then go right next door to the Einstein and get your Einstein bagel. And whatever there was, 100 grams of carbohydrates in those 2 things right away. And then what are we taught to do, folks? How many of us are type 2 diabetics? And coming back to the type 2 diabetics, how many of us, I don't mind stevia at all. El Pollo Loco. I don't mind that at all. How many of us have gone to the dietitian after you get type 2 diabetes and they say, okay, so here's the trick. Let's do a healthy breakfast, 30 to 60 carbs, a healthy snack up to 15 carbs, a healthy lunch, 30 to 60 carbs, a healthy snack up to 15 carbs, and then a healthy dinner, 30 to 60 carbs. Is that relatable to anybody? Has anybody else heard that thing? Right? Now, what is that doing? What we're doing all day long is spiking our glucose all day long. And what's that doing then to our insulin? We're spiking our insulin all day long. That's the problem, folks. We can't do that. We can't do that. That's what's causing them. And then more than that, how many people listening to me right now, just a little bit of engagement again, how many people at the end of the day, oh, there it is, Rose says, yep, toasted everything bagel with veggie schmear. How many of us at the end of the day give ourselves a treat because we deserve it? That treat might be a scoop of ice cream or a cookie or a chocolate candy bar. How many of us at the end of the day give ourselves something like that because we deserve it? And what have we done from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to bed? We've been spiking our glucose. And what does that do to our insulin? That spikes our insulin. Now, how frequently, if you did this one time, not a big deal. Not good for you, but not a big deal, right? But how long have you been doing that? How long have you been living that lifestyle? Victoria says me, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. If you want to get healthy, let's be honest with ourselves, right? And how long did you do that? Did you do it for a day or a week or a month or for a year or for a decade or for 2 decades I found out that I was type 2 when I was 44. I'd been living that lifestyle for over 3 decades by the time it caught up. And along the way, it's very interesting. Along the way, I had symptoms. Remember these things here? I had symptoms along the way that I had something wrong. I just wasn't listening to the symptoms. I wasn't listening to my body. Right? I had migraine headaches. I started getting skin tags. I had high blood pressure at 23 years old. I had these things, right? I started getting high cholesterol at about 30. My doctor saying, hey, man, your cholesterol's starting to climb a little bit, right? I was pre-diabetic. They're like, I wasn't maybe pre-diabetic, but I was probably like 5.6 at 40 years old. There's another symptom. I was getting all these symptoms, and what was I doing? Rather than fixing the problem, I just took a new medication for the new symptom. Okay. Me, 2 years, right? Been doing a doctor's detox, no sugar, no grains, infrared sauna, celery juice to rid parasites. We're not talking about parasites here, man. We're talking about hyperinsulinemia. Are there parasites? Sure. But we're talking about hyperinsulinemia. Veronica says, I have a sweet tooth. Veronica, guess what? Everybody seems to have a sweet tooth right now. Do you know why? It's because sugar is addicting. Of course you do. So is black coffee, tea, water before my 8-hour window to eat considered breaking my fast? No, it is not. Enjoy those. Enjoy those in abundance. You can enjoy all of those, Guillermo. Okay. Are those the new pinned comments? Hard to read. Are those the new pinned? They are. Brandy, I'm sorry. It's probably a little bit hard for you to read on TikTok. But it's probably easier for the people on Facebook or YouTube. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, when I say intermittent fast, 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule, what I'm suggesting is we simply stop eating enough that we lower the glucose, lower the insulin enough that our cells begin to become resensitized to the insulin, okay? We're just minimizing the food times that we're eating. I'm not minimizing my meal. I eat until I'm full. I'm not saying that you need to eat to like the point of vomiting or something like that, but eat until you're full and then push the plate away. Okay. That's a great idea. Tanya says you can swipe the screen. If you're on TikTok, you can swipe the screen to the right and it'll clear the comments, and then you can see what I've pinned a little bit easier. So that might help as well. Okay. Okay. How many people are listening to me that have a little bit of an extra fat belly happening right here? You got a little bit of jiggly right here. That fat is an alternative fuel source for your body. Brandy, I've already been doing it. I've been doing it for a year and change. Right? I like to fish, says me, right? Regina says I got plenty. Victoria says a little. Debbie says me. Okay. What is that? That's an alternative fuel source. It's there for times of famine. Dr. Mark Mattson is a neuroscientist out of Johns Hopkins Medical University. He's an excellent read. It's listen to him on all of the social media platforms. Anytime you can find Dr. Mark Mattson, listen to what he says. Now, he's been studying intermittent fasting for more than 25 years. A neuroscientist from Johns Hopkins Medical University, very qualified. And what he would say is that at about 12 to 14 hours of fasting, your body metabolically switches its fuel source. It goes from using glucose for fuel to fat for fuel. If you want to see that fat melt away, start using it as your fuel source. And that happens in about 12 to 14 hours. Now, we've got this mindset today that that's starving. That's not starving. That's using something that your body was intended to use, right? We were intended to use that. But we're not exercising properly. We're eating an awful diet. We're spiking our insulin. The cells are becoming resistant to the insulin. In fact, when the cell won't take the glucose, guess what the insulin does? It stores it in the form of fat. In fact, a good example of what that looks like, let's think about the type 1 diabetics that you know. Those are the people that got diagnosed diabetic at like 7 years old, right? Early onset. Type 1 diabetics. And if you really imagine, they're probably all skinny as a rail. If you think about the type 2 diabetics, those are people like me that got diagnosed at like 40 years old, right? And generally speaking, you would probably say that they are all pleasantly plump. We're well-rounded. I used to say that I'm well-rounded because round is a shape, right? I'm in shape because round is a shape. What's the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 is the presence of insulin. A type 1 doesn't produce insulin. A type 2 is hyperinsulinemic. When insulin is present, we store fat. When insulin is not present, the fat cell has nothing to do but shrink. It has to shrink. Interesting, right? So if you want to lose the belly fat, reduce the insulin. How do you reduce the insulin? Reduce the carbs. That's what causes the insulin. So when we are fasting at about 12 to 14 hours, and everybody's different, and every meal that you had last night's a little bit different, it all varies, but let's just say at around 12 to 14 hours, you metabolically switch your fuel source from glucose over to fat. Boom, you're starting to melt this off. So I go a minimum of 16 hours. I get at least 2 hours of fat burning in. More often than not, I go 18. Yesterday, I think I went like 19 hours. I didn't even mean to. Once you get used to it, it's not that big of a deal. When you're first starting, you're terrified of that. In fact, I think most people, Randy says, I'm not out of shape. Round is the shape I chose, is what I used to say, right? Who's heard of Joslin Diabetes Center? Joslin Diabetes Center. Anybody heard of Joslin Diabetes Center? Joslin.org. This is it right here. Let's go talk about Joslin Diabetes Center. Joslin Diabetes Center has been improving the lives of diabetes patients since 1893. For those of us in the back of the room, that's 131 years ago. Joslin.org. This is the history page for Joslin.org, Joslin Diabetes Center, and that is Dr. Elliot Joslin. Now, Dr. Elliot Joslin graduated med school in the 1800s, and when he did so, diabetes was pretty rare. There weren't a whole lot of people that had it, and for that reason, there was no reason to specialize in diabetes. However, when he graduated med school, he found out that both his mother and his aunt were diabetic. And for that reason, Dr. Elliot Joslin decided to specialize in diabetes. In fact, he would be one of the first people in the world to do so. And he was one of the first people to really write about it. He would write of the treatment of diabetes mellitus in 1916. Now, understand that what he thought in the late 1800s, what he thought the trick to controlling diabetes was strict glucose control and intermittent fasting. And of course, we all know, anybody who's diabetic knows that the trick is strict glucose control, right? If you have strict glucose control, you're going to be okay. It's when you don't that we start to get sick. He also talked a lot about intermittent fasting, and that's the part that I don't think we ever listened to. Treatment of diabetes mellitus in 1916. He wrote this 100 years ago, 108, that temporary periods of undernutrition are helpful in the treatment of diabetes will probably be acknowledged by all after these 2 years of experience with fasting. Now, I would ask the question, did we heed his advice? Did we go through and listen to him with intermittent fasting? And I don't think that we did. In fact, just a few years after Dr. Jocelyn wrote that, and what was he suggesting in that paper? That this wasn't that big of a deal. All we have to do is skip some meals and the problem will kind of go away on its own. But we didn't listen to him. In fact, a few years after he wrote that, we would discover insulin. Now, this is again my TikTok page, and I want to play a video of Dr. Ben Bickman. Remember the guy that I was talking about? This guy right here, Dr. Ben Bickman, professor of cell biology and physiology at BYU. I want to play this video of Dr. Bickman talking about insulin therapy. We've got 77 people listening on TikTok and quite a few on all of the other social media platforms. I want to play this video of Dr. Ben Bickman talking about insulin therapy with type 2 diabetics. So if you are a type 2 and you are on insulin therapy, as in you are giving yourself insulin, or your doctor has prescribed it saying that you are insulin dependent type 2. This is Dr. Ben Bickman talking about that.
But regardless, because we have a glucose-centric view of the disease, essentially the clinician is saying, well, to heck with your insulin. Who cares if we push it up even higher? They might not even know where it is. All they know is if they push the insulin up even higher, the glucose will in fact come down. And because that's the target, the glucose, they believe they're achieving the optimal outcome. However, it's much more complicated and sinister than that. The more aggressively we're giving a type 2 diabetic insulin to control their glucose, the faster we kill them. They are 3 times more likely to die from heart disease, and twice as likely to die from cancer, and twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. And throughout all of it, they need more and more and more insulin, because they're becoming ever more resistant to it.
So with that in mind, how many people would say that that's relatable? If you are a type 2 and you're on insulin therapy, did that message resonate with you? Are you in fact using more and more and more insulin as you've been on it? Or has your insulin usage gone down? Answer that question for me. Up or down? Has your insulin usage gone up or has your insulin usage gone down since you started? Now, Judy says, absolutely, it resonates well, right? And I want to point out, and Judy, I don't mean to pick on you, but Judy is a medical professional. And I love the fact that there is a medical professional. So Victoria says, yes, the insulin usage has gone up. Pit Gal, insulin usage has gone up. Judy, more and more meds. Anna, yes, I use more insulin. Tanya, my dad's has gone up. It's powerful. Vicky, hi Vicky, how are you? Recently down while intermittent fasting. Boom, mic drop, right? Mic drop. Pit Gal says, on Trulicity, 4.5 milligram pen. That is a max dose of Trulicity. That's the same thing I was on. I want to touch on that real quick, okay? Actually, I'm going to touch on that, Pit Gal. I'm in step 1 of the 3-step protocol. I'm going to touch on Trulicity in step 2. Please stick around for it. You might find step 2 completely fascinating. Completely fascinating, okay? And guys, a little bit of a teaser here. Trulicity is a glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonist. It's a GLP-1 receptor agonist. It gets our bodies to produce more and more and more GLP-1. Did you know that there are natural ways to do that? And that's what we've been doing for all of eternity. What if there were natural ways with no side effects, plant-based ways to do it without a chemical? Mama, Angel Cindy, off Ozempic, off insulin, lost weight, right? It can be done, right? Okay. Who's heard of Dr. Jason Fung? If you've heard of Dr. Jason Fung, type I have. Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist out of Toronto, Canada. He studies kidneys. And if you are type 2, then you've inevitably seen how interested your doctor is in your kidneys, right? Well, Dr. Jason Fung, Judy says, love him. Pit Gal says, has not heard of him, right? No, don't know him. Well, Dr. Jason Fung is somebody, Pit Gal, you might want to become interested in. Give him a follow on every social media platform. Dr. Jason Fung is a 5-time best-selling author. I believe 5 times. He might actually be over that now. He's written books like The Obesity Code, The Cancer Code, The Diabetes Code. And what Dr. Jason Fung really did was he found a relationship between poor insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance, and poor kidney health. And he thought that if we could reverse the insulin resistance, that it would have a profound effect on the kidney. And guess what? He was right. It did have a profound effect on the kidney. In fact, I personally have had people who have been in stage 3 kidney failure who have reversed their stage 3 kidney failure doing the exact steps that I'm talking about. Now, Dr. Fung not only had people reverse stage 3 and stage 4 kidney failure, he also had them reverse diabetes. It was kind of a side effect of taking care of those kidneys through reversal of insulin resistance. Now, what did Dr. Jason Fung do to achieve that? He went to the work of Dr. Elliot Jocelyn. This guy from more than a century ago, strict glucose control and intermittent fasting. Now, Dr. Jason Fung had his patients, and he was very strict with his intermittent fasting. Depending on how sick you are, he might have said, you don't get food for the next 5 days. I mean, it was pretty drastic. He was forcing your body to reset. And then when you came back and you were allowed to have food, he might have said, you get 10 carbohydrates in a day. Very strict, depending on how sick you were. But it worked. It was very, very effective. He's had people not only reverse their type 2 diabetes, but their PCOS. In fact, one of the books that I always talk about, and thank you, Tanya, one of the books that I always talk about is Dr. Jason Fung, Life in the Fasting Lane. This is an absolutely wonderful book. One of the co-authors in this book not only had type 2 diabetes, but she had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And polycystic ovarian syndrome, of course, is the number 1 cause for infertility amongst women in the United States. So not only did this co-author reverse her type 2 diabetes, but she also reversed her PCOS and then her infertility status. She's had children with her husband all naturally, all through intermittent fasting and a low-carb, high-fat diet. Now, low-carb, high-fat, if you're not familiar with that, that is keto. And keto there are all sorts of mixed emotions on this, right? But it makes perfect sense, right? If elevated carbs are causing the insulin response and we don't want that, well, minimize the carbs. Really, the high fat portion is what people are a little bit shocked with, because we've been really conditioned and taught that we need to be high carb, low fat, right? In 1980, we changed the food pyramid to 11 servings of carbohydrates per day. And that's what we've lived by for the last 45 years, right? High carb, low fat. Eat low fat everything. Get away from the fatty foods. They're making you fat. They're clogging your arteries. They did this in an effort to stop heart disease. But did they stop heart disease? In fact, since 1980, what has the obesity rate in the United States done? What has the type 2 diabetes rate done since then? What has Alzheimer's done? They've all just climbed. What are we doing? We're doing a high carb, low fat diet, right? Light dressing, low fat or no fat dressing, no fat mayonnaise. Like we're taught to do all of these things. And what's happening? We're getting sicker. Now, what Dr. Jason Fung is suggesting is just the opposite. Low carb, high fat. Tracy says tripled, quadrupled, right? So what Dr. Jason Fung did was a low carb, high fat diet. Okay, he does have a book called The Diabetes Code Cookbook. I have this. He's also got the obesity code cookbook. He's got the cancer code cookbook. I have the diabetes code cookbook. If you're looking for food ideas that fall in line with what Dr. Jason Fung preaches, there's a good cookbook. I am not keto. I am not carnivore. I'm none of the above. I'm not vegetarian. I'm not vegan. I'm none of the above. I would say that I definitely have Mediterranean influence on my dishes. I have, more often than not, a carnivore style lunch, at minimum a keto style lunch, and then a couple days a week my wife and I have a keto style dinner. But we are not any one of those. We do love our pizza, we do love our pasta, so from time to time we treat ourselves with that, but that's something in moderation, right? Interestingly, I just posted a really cool video from Dr. Ben Bickman about moderation, and I think it's you know what? In fact, I think it is so good. I want to share it. I don't know if it's up right now yet. It might be coming up here in a little bit. If you aren't following me on Facebook, you should. Let me see. Nope, it has not posted. It'll post up later on today. So Dr. Ben Bickman, he was talking about moderation. That's the term that we've always heard, and how maybe for some people that's not the best solution, moderation. And I found it to be pretty interesting, right? If you have an addiction to carbohydrates, if you can understand that you have an addiction to carbohydrates, is moderation really the problem? Or is that really the answer, right? As in, if you have an addiction to alcohol, is moderation the solution, or is removal the solution? And we don't want to hear that, right? But if you have an addiction to it, is moderation the answer, or is removing it the answer? And so Dr. Bickman, the video will go up to my Facebook page here later on today. They're in staggered postings. But anyway, any questions about step 1 of the protocol, which is intermittent fasting, a 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule? Does anybody have any questions about that? Or are we ready to move on to step 2 of the protocol? There's 3 steps. Step 1 always takes me the longest to describe because there's a lot of information to get thrown out there. Does anybody have any questions about step 1 of the protocol? Or are we ready to move on to step 2 of the protocol? Ask a question or type the word ready for me in the comment section, and I'll know. Veronica says, move on. Okay. Veronica, I will move on. Tracy says step 2. I think I like the way that Tracy said it a little better. Brat Kristen, ready for step 2. I like this. But we will do what Veronica said and just move on. Okay. All right. Step 2 of the protocol is consuming more chlorogenic acid. Now, what is chlorogenic acid? Chlorogenic acid is a naturally occurring polyphenol. It is one of the most abundant polyphenols on Earth. Now, what is that, you might ask, right? Polyphenols. We find polyphenols in certain fruits, certain vegetables, certain nuts, certain seeds, green teas, black teas, yerba mate tea. Maybe some of you have heard of yerba mate tea. In nature, chlorogenic acid is most abundant in a green coffee bean. So because it is most abundant in a green coffee bean, a lot of the research around chlorogenic acid revolves around coffee consumption. So I'm going to show you quite a bit of proof here on chlorogenic acid and the benefits of chlorogenic acid. But along the way, I'm going to show you a lot of proof that revolves around coffee consumption. If you're not a coffee fan, that's fine. Understand that chlorogenic acid is one of the most abundant polyphenols on Earth. We find it in fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, green tea, black tea. It's very abundant in yerba mate tea and, of course, then coffee. Now, what is yerba mate tea? I've said that a couple times. Let's rewind the clock about 1,000 years to the regions of South America that are now Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. In that region, there is a thick red clay-like soil. And when you pair that with the dense rainforest climate, that's really the only place that the yerba leaf will grow. And they've been consuming it for 500 to 1,000 years. The indigenous people would take that leaf, they would hand pick it, hand harvest it, fire roast it, and then break it up. It's a loose leaf tea. They would add it to water and let it steep and sip on it all day long. They would say that yerba mate gave them an amazing boost of energy. It made them feel full. They referred to it as the drink of the gods. In fact, it is still, I believe, the national drink of Argentina. It's like a staple in South America. It's one of the most widely consumed drinks in South America. So, to that point, what was it about yerba mate that made people feel so good? We know through science it was the chlorogenic acid. So chlorogenic acid has been scientifically proven to suppress appetites. We all could use a little bit of help with that, right? With aiding in weight loss. Most of us would like to lose a little bit of weight. Well, yerba mate, chlorogenic acid has been shown to aid in weight loss. Chlorogenic acid has been proven to lower blood pressure. A lot of people need to lower their blood pressure. Chlorogenic acid has been proven to be an insulin sensitizer. This entire conversation is about reversing insulin resistance. We want to promote insulin sensitivity. We want to sensitize our cells to the insulin. Well, chlorogenic acid has been proven to do exactly that. So, to that point, I want to dive into chlorogenic acid. I believe it was Pitgal that said that you were on Trulicity, 4.5 milligram pen. Is that correct? Keep listening. Here, we're getting ready to dive into this. Do all coffees have this or only a specific type? No, that's the beauty of it. All coffees. This is one of the most abundant polyphenols on earth. Victoria says, does it come in pill form? Are you looking for supplementation, Victoria? I do take a supplement for it. However, I'm never ever suggesting that anybody has to buy a supplement. You can get this in nature as we always have. Okay. We've always gotten this. We've just gotten away from the foods that have it. And we're eating foods that don't, AKA highly processed foods. So I want to ask, how many people are listening to me right now that are on a blood pressure lowering strategy? They're on a medication for it. They're trying to not get ticked off at work. Their blood pressure is too high. They are trying to lower their blood pressure, whether it be through medication or through meditation or something, right? Yes. Pit Gal says yes. Judy says me. I'm sorry, Pit Gal says me. Okay. What if I could show you proof that chlorogenic acid lowers blood pressure? Would you be interested in that information? And then how many people are listening to me that are on metformin? If you are on metformin, would you be so kind as to say I am in the comment section? And what if I could show you some research that suggests, let's see, Carly says, I'm not, but I'm trying to take as many preventative measures as I can. Carly, keep listening here, okay? Pit Gal, on metformin. Debbie, I am. Judy, I am, right? A lot of people are on metformin. Actually, as of 2021, there were 92 million prescriptions for metformin in the United States. That is a lot. What if I could show you some research that suggests that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to metformin? Would that be of interest to you? Chlorogenic acid. And then finally, how many people are listening to me right now that are on a GLP-1 receptor agonist? Let's talk about that. A quick little deep dive on what GLP-1s are. We've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound. A lot of people are on metformin, right? That's extended release. I'm on metformin. Okay, Judy is on Ozempic or one of these GLP-1s, right? So let's talk about the GLP-1 craze, right? Ozempic, Wegovy, the oral form of those semaglutides is called Rybelsus. What about Mounjaro or Zepbound? By the way, Zepbound is the exact same thing as Mounjaro. It's just able to be prescribed for weight loss, as Wegovy is the exact same thing as Ozempic, but for weight loss. They're higher doses. I was on Trulicity. There's also another one called Saxenda. And what these things are they're called GLP-1s. They are actually GLP-1 receptor agonists. Glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonists. Now, what is that? What is GLP-1? GLP-1 is an incretin hormone that's produced in your gut. And what we know through science about incretin hormone GLP-1 is when GLP-1 is elevated, the fat cell shrinks. We all want that, right? We want to shrink the fat cell. When GLP-1 is elevated, appetite suppression is down. We don't have the appetites. When GLP-1 is elevated, stomach dumping slows. That's key, right? If we can slow down the stomach dumping, we can start to slow down and help our bodies better regulate glucose. In fact, when GLP-1 is up, glucose as well as insulin are both down. Think about the magnitude of that. When GLP-1 is up, glucose and insulin are down. These are all things that we want to do. So what happened? The pharmaceutical industry came out with GLP-1 receptor agonists. Our body does the work of producing the GLP-1. Those medications really kind of make our bodies produce more. Dr. Bickman, remember this guy, Why We Get Sick? He has a great analogy. He says that if a scale of 1 to 10 is natural, they're pushing us to an 11. And it's like we're like riding that red line in our car for days, months, years on end. And when we do that, it's not without side effects, okay? Every single one of those, Ozempic, Mounjaro, every single one of them has a side effect of potential C-cell tumors, including cancer, thyroid C-cell tumors, including cancer, every single one of them. In fact, let's do this real quick, just to kind of make a point. I am going to go to Google and let's type in Ozempic, right? That's the most popular one. And I'm going to grab Ozempic.com. That's a semaglutide. And I'm going to say, I don't want their cookies. Right away, if you notice at the bottom of the page, possible thyroid tumors, including cancer. Did you know that? Did you know that there were possible thyroid tumors, including cancer? Let me blow that up just a little bit. It's on the homepage. And I would suggest that most people in today's society, we are so desperate for a solution that even if we did know that, we were willing to take that chance because we want a solution that badly. Now, we talk about GLP-1 raising and it's slowing down stomach dumping. We want that stomach to dump in 4 to 6 hours, something like that. Those are forcing the stomach to dump 4 to 6 hours or longer at times, 24 to 48 hours. And they are slowing it down so much that in cases, they are actually causing the stomach muscle to become paralyzed. It's called gastroparesis. It's paralyzing the stomach muscle. They're forcing the fat cell to shrink so fast that the body needs to pick up that metabolic burden somewhere else. And so what is it doing? It's increasing the number of fat cells in the body to share that metabolic burden. And that's a quote from Dr. Ben Bickman, again, world's leading metabolic scientist, right? And so what does that mean? When we have multiplying fat cells, that's called hyperplasia or hyperplastic fat storing. A lot of us are hypertrophic. That is, we were born with X amount of fat cells. That's the way you kind of want it to be. Hyperplastic, you accumulate. So when people come off of those medications, and we've seen this 1,000 times, what happens when people come off them? They gain the weight back rapidly and oftentimes worse than it was when they started them. And it's because there are so many more fat cells now. So what if I could, coming back to chlorogenic acid, what if I could show you proof that chlorogenic acid induces GLP-1 production naturally, without the nasty side effects? Chlorogenic acid, again, the most abundant polyphenol on earth. Would that be interesting to you? Mama, Angel Cindy says, I'm off Ozempic, was ruining my bowel movements, right? Also, motility problems. Okay. Great. Pit gal. Am I starting to speak to you? And I'm going to show you proof here, guys. That's what I like to do. So let's start here. Let me get the thing up here. Let's start right here. Okay. This is Google. Just go to Google, ask Google what foods have chlorogenic acid. In addition to coffee, fruits and vegetables, as well as Chinese herbal medicines are also a wide range of sources of chlorogenic acid, okay? In addition to coffee. Again, I mentioned already that coffee, there's a lot of research around coffee because it's the most abundant resource on earth for chlorogenic acid. So let's come over to this study right here. Folks, this is from the NIH PubMed. Your PubMed ID, if you are interested in the PubMed ID, is 24943289. A lot of people like to go and actually read the research that I'm talking about throughout here. But this little body that I found, the effects of chlorogenic acid on blood pressure, a systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized clinical trials. This is kind of the gold bar standard for research. The effects of chlorogenic acid on blood pressure. Do you have high blood pressure? Are you trying some sort of blood pressure lowering strategy? Are you trying to get it down, whether that's through medication or through meditation or just ignoring your boss altogether? Maybe you're ignoring your spouse because they bring on the stress. What if chlorogenic acid lowers your blood pressure? And in fact, we have proof that it does. In conclusion, the evidence from published randomized clinical trials suggests that chlorogenic acid intake causes statistically significant reductions in systolic and diastolic blood pressures. We have proof that chlorogenic acid lowers your blood pressure. This one right here. Chlorogenic acid improves glucose tolerance, lipid metabolism, inflammation, and microbiota composition in diabetic mice. If you are on metformin, this one is probably of interest to you. The results showed that chlorogenic acid decreased body weight, so it aided in weight loss, and improved glucose tolerance and insulin resistance, so it promoted insulin sensitivity. And these effects were similar to those of metformin. And I think that's just wildly powerful, that statement. And these effects were similar to those of metformin. This little body of research, PubMed Central this time, roles of chlorogenic acid on regulating glucose and lipids metabolism. Your PubMed ID is, dang it, there, 24062792. If we scroll down just a little bit here and get to the highlights, oops, I've gone too far. Right here. For example, it is reported that daily consumption of 3 to 4 cups of decaffeinated coffee containing high contents of chlorogenic acid significantly reduced the risk for type 2 diabetes by 30%. 3 to 4 cups of decaf coffee daily reduced your risk of type 2 diabetes significantly by 30%. And furthermore, chlorogenic acid is a novel insulin sensitizer that potentiates insulin action similar to the therapeutic action of metformin. Because I'm not trying to play a doctor here. I'm just reading you this interesting research, okay? Go and research it yourself. In fact, go to Google and type into Google, does chlorogenic acid reverse insulin resistance? You'll get about 203,000 results. And pick the body of research that you want. Go and do it. I encourage you to do it. Now, this one here, again from PubMed, and PubMed ID 15694706. For those of you that are on a GLP-1 receptor agonist, Ozempic, and that sort of thing, right? A chlorogenic acid-induced increase in GLP-1 production may mediate the impact of heavy coffee consumption on diabetes risk. Let's just scroll down right here. Indeed, there is recent evidence that coffee increases production of the incretin hormone glucagon-like peptide 1. Coffee produces GLP-1. It increases your body's production of GLP-1. Now, this guy right here, has anybody heard of Andrew Huberman, Dr. Andrew Huberman? This is his profile on Stanford Medicine, right? You're not listening to some random dude on TikTok or Facebook. Now you're listening to some dude from Stanford Medicine. Remember I talked about yerba mate tea? This is Dr. Andrew Huberman's profile on Stanford University's website, their medical website, by the way. He received his bachelor's from the University of California, Santa Barbara. He received his master's from the University of Cal Berkeley. He received his PhD from the University of Cal Davis, and then his postdoctorate work was done at Stanford University. Dr. Andrew Huberman is an associate professor of neurobiology and, by courtesy of, psychiatry and behavioral sciences. Now, why am I talking about Huberman so much? This is Dr. Andrew Huberman, that guy who understands what your brain is telling you to do, right? This is him talking about GLP-1 production, and you'll hear yerba mate tea, okay?
Down in South America, was looking at Gila monsters, those really scary things, and he realized they don't have to eat very often. I wonder if they're hungry all the time or not. Turns out it takes their blood, isolates a peptide, which turns out to be GLP-1, puts it into other animals, and realizes it suppresses appetite. Amazing, right? Like this is what I love about biology. Some dude who studies Gila monsters. Turns out humans make GLP-1. GLP-1 is stimulated by things like yerba mate tea. Certain other compounds, plant compounds, stimulate its release. But what does it do in the hypothalamus? It suppresses hunger by way of, there's a particular brain arcuate pathway, blah, blah, blah. But it also affects the mechanosensors of the gut so that you feel like your gut's full. Like it's almost like you're getting like a pharmacologic tummy, stapled stomach, right? So when people take a drug that mimics GLP-1, their brain is like, well, I'm not as hungry, and their stomach feels full even though it's empty. The guy down in
How many people find that to be interesting, right? Let me catch up on some of the questions here, right? Some of the comments. Took me 3 months to be in remission for type 2 as well. No meds. I love that. But now trying to get more info on what to do. Statin. What about caffeinated coffee? Great question, Pit Gal. Caffeine. Yeah, it is the most abundant polyphenol on earth, okay? That particular study just looked at decaf, but it's in regular coffee as well. Victoria, I have to go, but I wish I didn't. But I will go and look at all of your posts on TikTok page. Victoria, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, this live stream right now will be permanently saved to those. So you can go and watch this live stream on one of those platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. This is currently streaming to. In fact, right now I'm streaming to a couple new ones. I'm streaming to Rumble, which I'm not streaming to Rumble. And it doesn't look like I'm streaming to my Instagram. So, but you'll find this stream goes to a lot of different places. And some of those places like Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, they keep them posted. So you can go and watch this exact same live stream in its entirety down the road. Okay, so Veronica, how can we tell if the coffee has enough? That's just it, Veronica. Drink more. Drink more. And if you're got a caffeine problem, switch over to decaf. Serenity, what got rid of your skin tags? So I can see that video is starting to pop. Skin tags, guys, are a side effect of insulin resistance. And oftentimes while I'm doing a live stream, a video that I posted a while back starts going viral. I think it's at like 250,000 views right now. So I will get a lot of people that are coming into my live and asking me questions about that video. So if I keep sounding like I'm repeating myself there, it's because of that one video. So stick around. If you're coming here from that video, just keep listening. So decaf has this. I know I can't drink 4 cups of caffeinated coffee. It's exactly it. Okay. Both coffee, decaf or calf, both of them, Jazz. How much chlorogenic acid should I take for type 3? Oh, type 3. Do you have Alzheimer's disease? Is that what you're suggesting there? Mama says, awesome. Pit Gal says, wow, that's interesting. I feel full when I drink coffee. I came over from TikTok to send it to my mom. Wonderful, Carly. That's awesome. Okay. I have some skin tags around my neck, right? A lot of people do. I did. Okay. So increase your chlorogenic acid. Now, folks, here's the deal. Throughout history, we've always gotten that chlorogenic acid because what did we eat? Fruits, vegetables, all of that sort of thing. We ate that. We drank the teas that had it. We did that naturally. What do we do? And as a result, our bodies were naturally increasing its own GLP-1 production. What have we done? We've ditched the tea and coffee. We've gone to Coca-Cola. We have ditched the apples and fruits and vegetables, and we've gone over to a bag of potato chips. It doesn't exist in those. So the highly processed foods, which I'm going to speak in depth about on step 3 of the protocol, but that's a bit, they kind of go interchangeably. So guess what? The foods that we're not eating, that we should be eating, have the chlorogenic acid in them. Don't worry about a specific content. Just eat better foods, and you'll get better results. But if you're curious, go to Google and just type into Google what foods have chlorogenic acid, like this right here. Okay. What foods have chlorogenic acid in them? And just start doing research and finding what foods, but you'll find that green coffee beans. So coffee is an excellent source for it. Yerba mate, as Dr. Andrew Huberman just said, is an excellent source for it. Okay. Are there any questions? Let's see. I have AFib episodes of fast heart rate. Do you think the caffeine in the tea could affect it? Judy, I know that you're drinking the same tea that I drink. My mother has AFib. She has not had a single AFib episode since she started the program. Okay. Now, what Judy's talking about is a specific tea that we drink. Somebody asked about supplementation. I do want to talk about a supplement that I do use, but I'm never suggesting that anybody has to use a supplementation. I hope that throughout my live stream, I have given enough information as to where you can get it. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, green tea, black tea, yerba mate tea. Hopefully I've given you black coffee, enough examples of places that you can go and get them. But I do want to talk about a supplement because I oftentimes get asked about that supplement. So there it is. Brat Kristen asks, what tea do you drink? AG, my anxiety has gone away. I don't really have it anymore. Brat Kristen, what tea do I drink? Okay, here we go. Is everybody else ready for the supplement, the information about the supplement? Or does anybody have questions about chlorogenic acid in general? If you're ready for information about the supplement, then just type ready for me in the comments. And that way I'll know that you guys are okay with transitioning over to that. I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about that, and then we'll move on to step 3. And actually, I guess I could just go because Brat has already asked it. Kelly says ready. Here we go. Brat Kristen says ready. Tracy says ready. I can't keep up with them. A lot of people are saying ready. Okay, so the tea that I drink, this is a yerba mate extract. Think about the way that I just worded that. It's a yerba mate extract. Now, what is a yerba mate extract? This starts off as the same traditional yerba mate that they've been drinking for near millennia right now. Right? The manufacturer takes the yerba mate leaf, the yerba leaf. They're still purchasing it from the original farmers in South America. They are still fire roasting it in a very similar way, but then they stop the traditional process and they extract. It's a yerba mate extract. They extract the good things like chlorogenic acid, like theobromine, those sorts of things. They pull those out and then they hyper cleanse it. They get rid of the things that we don't want, things like pesticides and heavy metals, things that aren't necessarily good for us. And then they concentrate it. This is a very highly concentrated yerba mate extract. Now, more than just being some random supplement, I'm always talking about Dr. Ben Bickman, this guy right here, professor of cell biology and physiology at the, I'm sorry, here it is. I'm looking for this tab right here. Dr. Ben Bickman, professor of cell biology and physiology at BYU, world's leading metabolic scientist. This little body of research right here, and I will give you the PubMed ID if you are interested, PubMed ID 37892529. This is a little bit of research that Dr. Bickman published on this exact tea, okay? And he's looking at a yerba mate supplement, okay? And Dr. Ben Bickman. Now, Ben Bickman has actually done a second research paper on this exact tea. And what he found was that this tea increases your body's own GLP-1 production by up to 70% during a fasted state. And if we're trying to increase our GLP-1 production, Dr. Ben Bickman, this guy right here, says that this does exactly that. So this is, not this. This is highly effective. When I drink it, that's exactly why I drink it. It does suppress my appetite amazingly. I don't really feel like I'm watching the clock waiting to break my fast. It aids in weight loss. It aids in ketone production. It puts you into ketosis faster. It gives you an amazing boost of energy. I look forward to having mine every single day, as does my wife. It increases insulin sensitivity, and we now have scientific proof from the world's leading metabolic scientist that it increases GLP-1 production by up to 70% during a fasted state. So when I say that I drink that, that is why I drink that. Enough about the supplement. That kind of wraps up step 2. Are we ready for step 3? Does anybody have any questions about step 3? Are we ready to move on to step 3, or do you have questions about step 2? If you're ready for step 3, I guess type ready or ask questions about step 2. And real quick recap, step 1 is intermittent fasting, which took the longest to explain. Step 2 is consuming more chlorogenic acid. And then step 3 is I'm getting ready to start. Can you show the tea and where we can buy it? Brat Kristen. Okay, great question, Brat Kristen. Yes, I can show you the tea, and I will show you the tea. I don't show the tea during this portion, only because I found that people jump out of my live stream. They go and Google it. They find out it's exactly what I said it was. They jump back into the live stream, but then they've missed step 3, which we're getting ready to start. Okay, so for those that are interested in the tea, where to buy it, what the name is, and all that stuff, stick around. I tell that at the end of the live stream. But we got a lot of people. Pit Gal saying she's ready. Mama Angel ready. Veronica is ready. Okay, so with that being said, and Brat Kristen, fully understand. I'll be patient. There you go. Thank you, Brat Kristen. Okay, guys. So step 3 of the protocol is pretty simple. It's increasing our fiber. 93% of Americans don't get the recommended daily intake of fiber. That's 95% of men, and 91% of women don't get their recommended daily intake of fiber. And that's huge. Now, why does fiber matter? Well, fiber helps our body naturally regulate its glucose levels. Doctors, scientists alike will tell you that. Okay. Now, a diet adequate in fiber drastically reduces your risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Interestingly enough, all of those are caused by insulin resistance, right? So what fiber does is helps us regulate our glucose. And if we can regulate our glucose, then of course, we could regulate our insulin and not be insulin resistant. So when we hear that fiber drastically reduces our risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes, well, this is why, okay? How many people are listening to me right now that are on a cholesterol-lowering plan? They're trying to lower their cholesterol, whether that's through a diet or whether that's through a statin, cholesterol-lowering medication or something like that. How many people are on one of those, right? Judy says me, right? Okay, so let me see here. Let's talk about why. We got a lot of people saying me, right? Davey, right? Pit Gal is on a statin. Okay. Let's talk about fiber and why it helps regulate our glucose. And of course, if we can regulate our glucose, then by default, we regulate our insulin. And if we do that, well, then we become less of a risk for heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes. So there are 2 categories of fiber. There is a soluble fiber and there is an insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber dissolves in water. Insoluble fiber does not. So insoluble fiber looks, my favorite example is quinoa. Now, quinoa, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's a whole grain that you'll boil to tenderness. We like to add some chicken broth to it. and a little bit of seasonings. I like Slap Ya Mama, the Cajun flavorings. I add a little bit to it that. You boil it to tenderness, and when you eat it, it has a certain shape. When you pass it through, Sally says, yes, me too. She's on 2 statin. When you pass it through the next morning in the toilet, it looks identical. That's because it is not soluble. It is insoluble. It does not dissolve in water. Now, what is that doing? That's kind of acting like a scrub brush. It goes through your guts and it gets rid of all of the things that we're not going to use, all of those carbs that are excessive, that we don't need. We don't need to convert to glucose. We don't need that. It's going to take that and shove it out the backside. Now, soluble fiber dissolves in water. It's the opposite. It dissolves. It forms this thick, sticky, gelatinous fibrous type matrix that lines your gut tract. Now, for reference here, let's say that you're eating a piece of white bread. That is a 100 on the glycemic index. It's very high. There's no fiber. It's going to spike your glucose rapid and fast and high. Now, why is that? Because there's no fiber. When you eat it, your body immediately converts it to glucose and you get that quick high glucose spike. And then, of course, what happens to your insulin? Quick high insulin response. Now, when you have the appropriate amount of fiber, that slows down that process. You get a slow, gradual climb. And then what does that do to your insulin? A slow, gradual climb in your insulin. So increase your fiber, get a good wide variety of both soluble and insoluble fiber. They both matter, okay? And if you have loose stool, a insoluble fiber will help kind of firm that thing up. So why are we 93% of us not getting our recommended daily intake of fiber? And it's absolutely because of all those highly processed foods, the overly processed foods. And we've heard that before. Has not every single person listening to me right now heard this? Avoid the highly processed foods. We've all heard that, right? So the highly processed foods don't have that fiber. What does that mean, right? How does that work? So why would they not have the fiber? So fiber is satiating. It makes you feel full. Fiber spoils. It goes bad. If you are in the food manufacturing industry, your job is to sell food, make food and sell it. Do you want your customers full and do you want a product that will spoil? No. Remove the fiber. Voila. You've got kind of a good business decision right there. So removing the fiber is a bit of a financial decision. Now, avoiding the highly processed foods. So the center aisles of your grocery store are generally highly processed. Macaroni and cheese, bags of chips. In fact, Dr. Bickman would say that if it comes in a box or a bag and has a barcode, it's probably highly processed. Avoid it. Easy enough. Shop the outer aisles of your grocery store. That's where you'll find the minimally processed foods. The things like the produce section. Voila, produce. Eat more produce. Go over to the produce section and get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. When you're selecting your fruits, let's stick to skin on, less sweet fruits. Okay, the skin, there's a lot of good things like polyphenols and fiber. So when we can consume the skin, that's wonderful. Things like apples, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, that sort of thing. We want to be able to consume the skin. We want to minimize the skin off fruits, right? Things like oranges, bananas, the tropical fruits. What do they do to your glucose when you eat them? Question to the audience. We've got a number of people on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. What happens to your glucose when you have an orange or a banana, right? The skin off fruits. Veronica says, can you get it from juicing fruits and vegetables? Why not just eat them in their natural state, Veronica? It kind of ruins it when we juice. So why not just eat them in their natural state? Enjoy an apple. Okay. And I'm not trying to be a smart with that. I'm just asking the question. We feel like we have to juice everything, right? Let's talk about juice. It does bring up a great question, though. Let's talk about apple juice. What is apple juice? Apple juice is sugar water, right? That's really all that it is sugar water. What happens when we drink sugar water? We spike our glucose. Now, how does an apple come in nature? How does that apple juice come in nature? It comes wrapped in pectin fiber. Pectin fiber. So when we have the apple juice, a great example, if I handed you a glass of juice and asked you to drink it, would you feel full? And probably not. You wouldn't feel full at all. If I gave you the 3 apples that it took to make that glass of juice, you'd probably feel pretty full. That's a great example. So juicing versus not juicing. Let's eat them in their natural state. Okay, so this is just an example, right? Because an avocado is obviously a skin-off fruit, and we want to eat as many avocados as we can. That's a wonderful food for us. 14 grams of fiber in a medium Hass avocado. So enjoy those. So rule of thumb, and let's avoid the tropical fruits, right? Okay, so with that being said, go over to the vegetable section and get a wide variety of vegetables. Get a wide variety of the leafy ones, the cruciferous ones. When you're over there in the vegetable section, we're going to stick to above ground, less starchy. Let's get away from the below ground starchy vegetables. Things like potatoes. Let's avoid the potatoes. We eat potatoes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't hate me, hate your own gut. You've been eating them. Your gut's been telling you otherwise, but you keep doing it, right? So don't hate me, hate your gut. So minimize the potatoes. There's virtually no fiber in a cooked potato. Okay. Are there any questions about step 3, which is increasing our fiber? And we can do this through avoiding those highly processed foods. I also want to touch real quick on seed oils. Get away from the dang seed oils. Canola oil, vegetable oil. Hey, Peyton, will you hand me that jar of mayonnaise in here? Thank you. So we have this jar of mayo right here. And the very first ingredient is soybean oil. It's awful. Get away from the seed oils, okay? What questions do we have on step 3, if any? I want to talk about a supplement that I take, but again, like the tea, I'm never going to recommend that you have to buy any supplements. So are we ready to talk about a supplement, or are there any questions about step 3 in general? If you're ready, type the word ready. Got pretty quiet there. And ready can be across all of the major social media platforms. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, Twitch. Judy says ready. Wonderful. Okay. Ooh, olive oil and avocado oil. Wonderful, wonderful oils. Extra virgin always. Go with extra virgin. The avocado oil, I cannot find extra virgin. Hey, Peyton, will you hand me that bottle of avocado oil? My daughter's down here making her breakfast. Avocado. This particular avocado oil is extra virgin, and that has to do with the extraction process. Here you go, baby. We put it back and put the mayonnaise back. Okay. So extra virgin avocado oil. So I use the 2 of them pretty regularly. Olive oil, not good to cook with. Avocado oil, good to cook with. Olive oil tastes better on a salad. So use olive oil when it's cold. Use avocado oil when it's hot. They're both very high in oleic acid. They're wonderful. Pit gal, avoid cereals. Avoid cereals like the Black Plague. They're not good. Okay. I have someone watching. Oh, yeah. That is King. We have 2 Great Danes. Somebody says I have somebody watching behind me. Where can I get that tea? Cindy, I'm going to share that here in just a moment. Okay, so the supplement that I take for fiber, who recalls Rexall Pharmacy? If you remember Rexall Pharmacy, just type I do. So Rexall Pharmacy, 120-year-old company, and in the late 80s, so like 35 years ago, they developed this blend of fiber. They thought we didn't need a single source like psyllium husk or wheat dextrin. I'm that old. That's funny, Judy. Still have them, right? Mama, they are still abundant in Canada, and there are some locations left in the United States. So they developed this blend of fiber. And I want to emphasize the word blend, right? Because we don't need just one type of fiber. We need a wide variety. They put together 7 blends. There are 5 separate patents on this. This thing has been sought after by other companies, the pharmaceutical industry. There are a lot of people that want this, and this is exactly why. They paired that blend of fiber with a multivitamin. what they thought was that vitamin supplementation was necessary at the time. They thought that our foods were becoming less nutritious and we needed more vitamins. So put the vitamins with the blend of fiber. And what we have is a fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. There's a mouthful, right? Fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. Now, that is what has made this so unique for so many years. That little blend of fiber from Rexall Pharmacy has been studied all over the world. In fact, there are 14 different clinical validation studies that have been done on this by places like UNLV and Stanford. But I want to talk about a couple of locations in particular, specifically the Cleveland Clinic. Now, I want to ask the question real quick. How many people, and I've already asked it once, but how many people are on a statin medication? Yes, we are, Mama. I am not personally, but the product is. How many people are on a statin lowering protocol? They're trying to lower, or a cholesterol lowering practice. They're trying to lower it through medications, through the foods they're eating, something like that. Statin medications. This is called the PDR, the Physician's Desk Reference. Let me make this screen bigger. The Physician's Desk Reference, right? And you may have seen this on your doctor's desk all those years ago, right? We've heard of the Physician's Desk Reference. Now, that is now available online. The PDR is available online. You don't have to get that big old honking book. And I'm just looking for the PDR on my tab. I've got one open somewhere. Let me see. It is here. Okay, maybe it's not. Let's go share this tab. Okay, what I'm going to do is type into Google the PDR.net. And there you go, the prescriber's digital reference. And what we're going to do is type in here Lipitor. That is the most commonly prescribed statin medication, cholesterol lowering medication in the United States. The generic of that is called atorvastatin calcium. Maybe you're on atorvastatin calcium. But Lipitor, we go to the drug summary and we go to the adverse reactions. You will find it has a moderate adverse reaction of diabetes mellitus. How many of you guys are currently taking a medication that has a moderate adverse reaction of diabetes mellitus? Maybe you're on Crestor, right? Let's go look at Crestor. That is rosuvastatin calcium. That's what I was on. I was on a max dose of this one. Let's go down to the adverse reactions. And again, in the moderate adverse reactions, diabetes mellitus. Maybe you're on Zocor. That is the brand for Simvastatin. Simvastatin is the generic. Maybe you're on Simvastatin. Let's look at the drug summary and the adverse reactions. Again, in the moderate adverse reactions, diabetes. So how many of you guys are taking one of these and trying to figure out why you have hyperglycemia? Check that out. That is a side effect, hyperglycemia. How about that? Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk about the top heart hospital in the United States. The Cleveland Clinic. Go to Google and ask Google what the top heart hospital is, and they will tell you the Cleveland Clinic. Now, why do I talk about the Cleveland Clinic? Because they studied the same fiber multivitamin combination therapy. They studied it. The top heart hospital in the United States studied that. This was from the Preventative Cardiology section of the Cleveland Clinic Foundation. It was submitted November 15, 2001 and accepted February 14, 2002. More than 20 years ago, the Cleveland Clinic, America's top heart hospital, studied the same product. They tested it against LDL, total cholesterol, HDL, so low density lipoprotein cholesterol, high density lipoprotein, LDL you want low, HDL you want high, triglycerides, overall body weight, glucose, ApoB. They tested it a lot, and they found that that blend, that fiber and multivitamin combination therapy from Rexall, improved every single category. Guys, this is plant-based with zero side effects. There are no side effects. Plant-based, all natural. In fact, the Cleveland Clinic would go on to conclude such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. The Cleveland Clinic, more than 20 years ago, was telling us that we had a solution for an all-natural statin. That's what that line says. It could potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. Those are statins. The Cleveland Clinic. Now, maybe you've heard of the glycemic index. This is the Mayo Clinic. The glycemic index ranks food on a scale from 0 to 100. The low end of the scale has foods that have little effect on blood sugar levels. The high end of the scale has foods with a big effect. We want to avoid foods that are high. We want to eat foods that are low, right? It's pretty simple. If you're unfamiliar with the glycemic index, you should become familiar with it. Why do I talk about this? Let's go over to Google and ask Google, what is the home of the glycemic index? It says the International Glycemic Index database and website are led by Professor Jenny Brand Miller at the University of Sydney, Australia. Go to glycemicindex.com and hit the About page. By the way, this is the University of Sydney, Australia, and scroll down and you will find her. That is Professor Jenny Brand Miller. She's an internationally recognized authority on carbohydrates and the glycemic index with over 250 scientific publications. She understands glucose regulation. Why do I talk about her? Because she has studied the same product while at the University of Sydney, Australia. She tested it against foods that were high in the glycemic index and found that in every case, it lowered the glycemic index from high to medium. Effectively, it lowered the glucose spike, and then she also found that it lowered the insulin response. So in all of the cases, it lowered the glycemic as well as the insulin index. Okay, that's important. But they studied it a second time, and in this case, they gave test patients white bread, which is a 100. It spikes your blood glucose extremely fast and extremely high. And in each case, they found that it lowered, on average, the blood glucose response by 20%. If they gave 2 servings, by 28%. Absolutely massive numbers. And then it lowered the blood insulin response by 13 to 27%, respectively. I want to talk about one person here real quick. Let me see. I want to go to the science team for this company, and I want to scroll down and point out that Dr. Ben Bickman, the world's leading metabolic scientist, is the head of the scientific advisory board for this company. He is the director of the scientific advisory board for this company. One final note, if you go back to the PDR, the prescriber's digital reference, you will find 19 different instances of their products in the PDR. They are in that PDR, they're in this, okay? Both the tea and the fiber are in there. They've got the world's leading metabolic scientist is the director of their scientific advisory board. They've been studied at places like the Cleveland Clinic, the University of Sydney, Australia, UNLV, Stanford, all over the place. Okay, so with that being said, real quick, the 2 products are available in a kit. The kit lasts 30 days. The kit costs $159. That's $5.30 a day. So about $1.75 per packet. The tea cost me $1.75. Okay. It's not a very expensive product. What they do is offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. They guarantee that you are going to lower your cholesterol. They guarantee you're going to lower your A1C, your blood glucose levels, your blood pressure. They guarantee it. They guarantee you're going to lose body weight. They guarantee this. In fact, they just guarantee your happiness. If after 90 days you're not satisfied, they will give you all of your money back. There's absolutely nothing to lose. So with that in mind, that is the two products put together. They are $159. Does anybody have any questions? If you want to know more about that product, I guess you can type the word interested in the comment section and I will show you how to order the product. Otherwise, this kind of just opens us up for a Q&A. If you have questions about my diet, if you have questions about chlorogenic acid or fiber or anything, let's open up to a Q&A. Okay. Brat, Kristen, you say you're interested. Okay. Mama is interested. There are a number of people that are interested. So I'm trying to figure out this restream thing. And I think the easiest thing is if you know how to scan a QR code. If you scan that thing right there, that is one way to do it. I'm going to put a link in the comment section here. Let's go like this. Okay. If you can see that link down there at the bottom of this page, you can screenshot that. If you're on TikTok and the other comments are in the way, just kind of swipe to the right. If you swipe to the right, it will remove all of the comments. Pit Gal, I totally get it. Interested, but on a limited budget. I totally get it. Pit Gal, I really genuinely hope that you've noticed that I think I've spent 95% of this live stream talking about ways that we can do this without purchasing a single thing. Okay, you can adhere to the protocol without spending a penny. I really do, from my heart, I mean that. What these things are an excellent tool. There are a lot of people who have benefited from them. And I would go so far as to say that they are cost neutral for me personally, as in when we get done at the end of the month, they haven't costed me anything because I'm skipping breakfast, I'm skipping that snack. And then more than anything, they offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. Let's see. Michelle, I have read there are other benefits besides lowering blood sugar and blood pressure. How does it affect those things if you don't have issues with them? Like Michelle, maybe build on that a little bit. And thank you for, if you haven't given me a follow yet, Michelle, please do. The price in the United States, Mama, is $159. The product, guys, by the way, that's a great question. Mama asks, what's the price in the United States? It's $159. It's approximately that in local currency around the world. So if you are in another country and you use that link in my bio, that will take you there. That, by the way, is the manufacturer's link, guys. That's not my link. I'm not charging you anything. You're buying the product from the manufacturer. Okay. The link works in over 30 countries around the world. More than that, the product is actually available in almost 60 countries around the world. So it's not like it's this fly-by-night thing. It's been around for 35 years, and the product's available in like over 50 countries. So I guess I'm going to dive into maybe answering as best I can your question without totally understanding your question, Michelle. I had IBS for years and years and years. It solved my IBS problem in like 2 days. I don't have high blood pressure anymore. I don't have high cholesterol anymore. I don't have type 2 diabetes anymore. I don't have acid reflux anymore. Really what it does is it addresses insulin resistance. And as you reverse that insulin resistance, all those other things just get better. Now, if you're saying like, hey, I don't need to lose any weight, am I just going to whittle away? Not at all. What you're going to find is your body starts to naturally regulate where it needs to be. There's an interesting thought, right? Will the tea work by itself? Absolutely. In fact, the intermittent fasting will work by itself, Pit Gal. But why? Try the protocol. Also, they do take Klarna is a method. If you're interested and you use Klarna. Hey guys, can you get the dogs to stop? Klarna is an option. Let's see. It's Help My Hubs. I think that's HTN. I'm not sure what that is. Gout, IBS, and his A1C is trending down. If I use the program for things like energy, focus, inflammation, yes. You will see a drastic reduction in your inflammation, your focus, the mental clarity. In fact, if there's anybody that's drinking the tea right now, if you would put a comment in the comment section as to what it's doing for your mental clarity to really kind of talk to Michelle over there on Facebook. Can it cause blood pressure and sugar to go too low? No, not at all. Now, if you are medicated, there is a potential that, yeah, maybe you'll find yourself being overly medicated. If your blood sugar starts to really drop, should you stop taking the all-natural things, or should you have a conversation with your doctor about reducing the medications? That might happen. That's the way it happened with me. I hope that answers your question. I think she's asking, if you don't have high blood pressure, will it take it too low? Judy, great. No, it will not. Could definitely lose a few pounds. I think most of us could, Michelle, especially in April. Beach season's coming up, right? Hypertension. Brad Kristen, this has been very helpful. My family all suffers with all of this. I want to make better changes. Brad Kristen, here's the deal. So if your family needs this, if you need this, if your family needs this, start the protocol, okay? And if you can do the tools, and that's what we call them, the tools, order the tools. You will see an immediate change. It happens quick, okay? Hop onto the tools, and at $159, every time you refer the product to somebody else, you get a $10 product credit in the United States. I think it's like 8 something in Canada. You get a discount on your product every time somebody else orders. So what you'll do, you'll get on the program, you'll see that it's immediately starts working, and then you just send people to my live streams and tell them, hey, go watch this guy. He'll explain why you need it. And when you go to order it, they'll use your link instead of my link, and you'll get a discount. That's the way that this thing works, and it starts reducing your price. And you're not having to go out and tell them all about chlorogenic acid and that sort of stuff. You just send them my way. I can do that for you. Is there anybody that wants to order the system but does not know how to? And if that is you, then type the word help in the comment section, and I will know exactly what you're talking about. You want to order the system, but you don't know how to, type the word help in the comment section, and I will tell you exactly how. I'm going to share this with a friend as well. She's going down this road and is scared. That's the biggest thing. And Brad, Kristen, that's something that gets me every time. So many people, they're terrified, right? You're terrified. You're stuck in a position where it's like you just feel like you're slowly dying, right? And you're losing control, helpless and hopeless. And that is awful. That's a horrible way to live. I have seen people time and time again restore hope, restore help. They don't feel like that. So if you genuinely feel like that, find a way to spend $159 a month. At the end of the month, it will pay for itself. The company does accept PayPal. They do accept Klarna. There are ways to reduce the price, break up the payments, if you will. And then if you share the program with somebody else, all you got to do is send them to my live stream, and they'll see the need. And if they sign up, they'll sign up with your link, and it'll reduce your price. Okay. How often do you take the tea in the supplement? Cindy, great question. I'm actually on my second and third ones of the day right now. I'm sorry. I started off with 2. So I'm actually on 3 and 4. This is 2 of them are in here, 3 and 4. So I'll probably be done after this. Thinking it over, please help with the order. Okay. Pit Gal, thinking it over, please help with the order. Okay, guys. So I'm live right now on multiple platforms. So I'm going to use my TikTok as an example, but this is the same with my Facebook platform, my YouTube, my Twitch, and we've got viewers on all of those right now. So I'm going to go to my TikTok profile. And let's see, we're going to go like this. This is my TikTok profile. By the way, if you're not following me on TikTok, do. I'm most active on TikTok. You can find me. Got it. You can find me on all of my social media platforms at The Real Jim BBQ or The Healthy Pitmaster. Okay. In there, in all of my social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, whatever, you'll see my bio. I'm a competitive barbecue cook who fought the Grim Reaper and won. This is my story. And you'll see my link, this link right here. When you click that link, it says Linktree/The Healthy Pitmaster. When you click that, it will bring you here. Okay, this is my link tree. If you're curious about the educational books that I talk about, click that link. But the very first link, the Unicity Feel Great System, that's where you purchase it. Now, when you do this, you are using my wife and I's referral code to get a lifetime discount from Unicity. And I want to emphasize, you're not buying this from me. In fact, if you're like I am and you say, hey, I want to go over to Amazon and purchase it there because I don't know this dude on TikTok, it's going to cost you $250, $218, $240. Also, those are unauthorized sales. Unicity does not authorize the sale of their product there. Okay, so with that in mind, let's come back here to this page. Again, you're just using my wife and I's referral code. As I just told you to send people towards my live stream and they will use your referral code, this is just my referral code, okay? Hit buy now, and buy now is a pretty typical online checkout system. If you hit that, you'll come here, you'll see the Feel Great system. You can pick your flavors. So it comes with 2 of the teas. Okay, so you'll drink 2 of these teas per day. You can get a, this one here is a lemon and apple spice. So you get 1 tea is a lemon flavor, another tea is an apple spice flavor. You could do 2 of the apple spice flavors. You could do 2 of the lemon flavors. You could do 2 of the lemon ginger flavors. Lemon, ginger, and apple spice, or a lemon and lemon ginger. You can mix them all up. The fiber comes in orange flavor. It tastes like orange Julius. If you're familiar with orange Julius or orange creamsicle, something like that, $159. You'll notice at the very bottom, there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. Unicity stands behind its products by offering non-distributor purchasers a 100% money-back satisfaction guarantee on Feel Great. If for any reason within 90 days after your purchase you are dissatisfied with your Feel Great products, Unicity will, upon your written request, issue to you a full purchase price refund. That's huge. So how do I, oh, there it is, close. Okay, so if you're back to that home page, if you scroll down a little bit, you will find the products. These are the products. Unimate is the tea. Balance is the fiber. If you click learn more, that will take you to the product page for Balance or Unimate, whichever one you want. And what you'll do is you'll find that these are all natural plant-based products. 1,040% of your vitamin B12, 410% of your vitamin B6, and your plant. So you'll find plant-based, okay? So coming back here, if you scroll to the very bottom of this page, Dr. Aaron Glenn, these are doctors. If you scroll to the very bottom, hit the science link. When you click that science link, it'll bring you to unicityscience.org. If you hit the research tab, that research tab is where all of those clinical validation studies are. Go read them. Go read them. They are fascinating. This one right here is the one from the Cleveland Clinic. This one here is one of the 2 that were done at the University of Sydney, Australia. If you go to the science team, you'll find that they have 3 PhD level doctorates on staff in their research and development department. And they've got a scientific advisory board where Dr. Ben Bickman is the director of it. But we've also got Dr. Aaron Glenn and Dr. Ted Naiman. So it's a great resource for information. Okay, now let me see. Let me catch up on some Judy, I'm scared not to try it. Which part did I miss, Judy? I'm scared not to try it. Keep every receipt. Oh, Tanya, I love this. Keep every receipt you spend on your food or drinks for 1 week and see where you could save $5 a day. That is a great bit of advice, Tanya. Could you possibly lower the scanning code? I can't. That's annoying. I'm sorry, I can't. But what I can do, I think, is, how about that? But you know what I want to do is, I want to go like this. Let's go. What I really want to do is, bear with me a second here. I want to change that link, paste, save. Okay. How about that? Is that easier? If that is easier, check the Unicity field grade system. I'm not sure what I just did there. Oh, okay, that's cool. That just put it up there for me. Now it's under the share and gifts. Okay, so what you can do if you're on TikTok, kind of swipe to the right and it'll clear the comments and you can scan it right there. How about that? The other thing you can do is go to my profile, and the link is in my profile no matter what social media platform you're on. I can't, Tanya. It's built into Restream. Oh, can you ask what I have mixed with my tea? Oh, you know what? Okay, so I'm going to come through. Let me do this. I don't know how this is going to work. Isn't there another product plus the teas? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I took that off. Okay, so let's go like this. Okay. There are a lot of products. So Unicity is a wellness company. They've got a catalog that's like 400 deep. There's a lot of products. I have a lot of those products. So if you're ever curious about some of the other products, but the Feel Great system is Unimate tea and Balance Fiber put together. It's just two of those products put together. And that's really all you need to reverse that insulin resistance. I hope that answers your question. If there are other products you're specifically curious of, like this tea that I'm drinking, this is one of them. Let me answer that question from Brat Kristen. If you guys have a bit of a sweet tooth, this is a great solution. This is their salted caramel Unimate. It is Unimate that flavors like salted caramel. It's delicious. I drink one every single day. It is also infused with MCT oil, which is wonderful for you. But it's an added cost, and I'm not suggesting that anybody ever has to spend more money to get those products. By the way, let me just ask, is there anybody who wants to purchase the product but does not know how to? If that is you, then type the word help, and I will know exactly what you are talking about. If you type the word help, I will know exactly what you are talking about. Do you use it with the teas? Mama, so yes, I do. I drink this. So I had this morning, I mixed a lemon and an apple spice. I don't normally do that, but I was up kind of early, a little bit tired. And so I had a lemon and an apple spice together in a 24-ounce thing. I drank that, got an amazing boost, feel wonderful. I transitioned over to, this is technically a black and salted caramel. So Unimate is also available in black, which is flavored like coffee. I don't recommend you order that because it's not the most popular flavor. But when you pair black and salted caramel together, it tastes like a Frappuccino. That's what I'm drinking right now. Mama, you have to be a member. Are you a member already? Have you become a member yet? And they're running a special on it. So, on that one, it's almost like a buy one, get one. Let me do this. Well, Mama, are you going to get onto the system, the Feel Great system? Once you start the Feel Great system, you immediately become a member. And what I can do is when you order the Feel Great system, if you're going to use my link, which is this one down here or that one up there, I will immediately I'm going to send you a text. Just respond to that text. Hey, I'm the one that just ordered. I want the link to the black and salted caramel, and I'll show you how to get there. How about that? Does that work? And I see that you answered yes, but I don't know if that. Oh, you're crazy about flavored coffees. That's what this is. Brat Kristen, but I thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to look into all of this. Absolutely, Brat Kristen. Do you have my link, Brat Kristen? I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to put this up. Absolutely, Mama. Absolutely. Dang it. This is what I wanted to do. Yes, I got it and saved it all. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, Mama Angel, I would love to have a conversation. We got quite a few people over on healthypitmaster.com. Amanda, are you on the Healthy Pitmaster live? Amanda? You do the same. Enjoy your day, Brat Kristen. It's been wonderful having you here. I hope you found this helpful. By the way, if you did find this helpful, everybody, do me a favor and join my live stream tomorrow and tap the likes. Just tap the likes. That tells TikTok that this is something that's worth sharing. Wonderful. And to that point, come on, person. Come on. Let's see. Hi, DeQueen. How are you? Okay, it looks like we are at about just under 19,000 likes. That is amazing. That is amazing. Let me see. Save. I'm going to do this as well. Oops, not that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go paste. Sorry, I'm just messing around with some things that some people might find helpful. How about this? There we go. How about that? Okay, what comments do we have? Anybody? And if we don't have any comments, I'm probably going to wrap it up. We're at 19,000 likes. How many? I can't see the number of shares. Is that 51? Is that right? I can't see the number of shares because that's in the way. $54 shares. That is crazy. 54 shares, 19,000 likes, an enormous amount of new followers on all the different platforms. I can only really see the new followers on TikTok. And we're at 90-something new followers just on TikTok alone. That's flattering. That means that you guys have definitely, that is crazy. Thank you, Mama Angel. Cindy, send this to my email. Plus, I can't screenshot over text. I can't send it. So, Mama Angel, are you able to see this? Are you able to get those? Can you get those? Are you able to scan those and get the link? Actually, let's do like this. As I prepare to wrap this up, is there anybody, no text over the top? Oh, so Mama, do me a favor. You're on TikTok. you can gently swipe your screen to the right. So I'll do it right here. What you can do is gently swipe to the right. Oops, nope, that's not the right one. Oh, if you're on, I think that's if you're on Androids, you'd swipe to the right. If you're on Apple, just hold the screen and it'll pop up that little menu and you hit clear text. And when you hit clear text, it's gone. Okay? Let me know if that helps. If you're on an Android, swipe to the right, I guess, and you'll be able to clear the text there. Okay. Or send me a message, guys, on every social media platform. Send me a message. If you'd like to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. Just have a conversation. I can send you the link via direct message. Okay? Okay. Getting pretty low in the head count. Is there anybody that wants to order the system, does not know how to? And if that is you, then type the word help. Otherwise, I am going to start wrapping it up now. We're at 20-some thousand likes on TikTok, and I can't see how many we have on the other platforms, but we're at 90-something new followers on TikTok alone, and 54 shares. That is absolutely crazy. So is there any questions on anything? Otherwise, I am going to start wrapping it up. DeQueen, thank you. Hey, DeQueen, I'm curious. Who is your sponsor? Who did you sign up under? Whose link did you use, DeQueen? Mama Angel, you are welcome. Do you have the link, Mama Angel? You're not signed. I thought you were on it. She said that you're not on it. I thought you were. I see you in every live stream. I thought you were on it. Just love watching. Are you doing the protocol? And why aren't you on it yet? You're watching all of us. I know I've seen you in Rose. I've seen you in, I think I saw you in Tanya's last night. I do, but it's cut off. Mama, do you know how to send me a direct message on TikTok? Oh, DeQueen, you want it for your mom. Let's get her started. Okay, you sent it. Okay, let me see here. I will do this real quick. Bear with me. Message request. I see you. Bear with me. Cindy. I'm going to send it to you right now by text, Cindy. Okay, I just sent you a text, Cindy. Let me know if you got it. Let's see. I also see, looks like Daniel. See, Bruce, I see your order. Bruce, are you still listening here? I see your order. Okay, Mama, you got it. Okay. Okay, so Cindy, you got the link. Get this thing on order. You've got my personal phone number now. That is my personal phone number. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. You guys have a wonderful day. And I do a live stream every day. Come back and watch tomorrow's. Okay? Have a good day. Bye-bye.